ṣe fún wọn nílé afẹ́ ò tàbí níbikíbi. Bóyá 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 ò kẹ́gbọ́n mi sweet heart fruit ń gbẹ́lẹ́ ìdè o kò táwọn yọ.
Wow! Here is a good information for everybody. Have the rich taste of fruit in different form at your parties, event, church program, or social engagement like wedding, birthday, conference in your house, and lots more. Fruit cocktails, fruit arrangement, fruit palm tree, smoothie, fruit basket decoration, fruit kebab, and lots more at Sweet Heart Fruit Company. Bẹ́ẹ̀ni, ní gbogbo ibi tí a bá ti ń ṣe àríyá, ìgbéyàwó, ọjọ́ ìbí, àjọ̀dún ilé ìjọsìn, níbi afẹ́ tàbí ibi ìgbádùn àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ, ẹ kàn sí Sweet Heart Fruit ní èyíkéyìí ohun tí ẹ bá fẹ́ kí wọ́n fi fruit dálẹ́rà fún yín bíi fruit cocktail, fruit arrangement, fruit palm tree, smoothie, fruit basket decoration àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Níbikíbi tí ẹ bá wà, ẹ lè kàn sí wa lórí ẹ̀rọ ìbánisọ̀rọ̀ yìí 079-442-78530 or follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all social media platforms at Sweet Heart Fruit. Oluwaseun Akishoun is the CEO of Sweet Heart Fruit. Patronize us at Sweet Heart Fruit today. You will be glad you business with us.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our premier show, Enough is Enough, Soro Soke, hosted by my good self, Mr. FEMI OKE, and sponsored by Better Niger, a show dedicated to debate and discussion centered on making a better Nigeria for all of us. Tonight we have a hot topic of the moment for discussion, which revolves around restructuring insecurity, separation and division versus unity, hate speech, tribalism, nepotism, and protest taking law into your own hands versus a hope for a better Nigeria. All of this is born out of the increasing criminality across the land, moving rapidly down south to the southwest Nigeria. So the topic for today is titled, Is Oduduwa Republic the Solution to Insecurity? So joining me in debate via Zoom is our distinguished guest, a lawyer and historian, and author of A Fatherless People, Mr. DELE OGUN. Welcome to the program.
Good evening. I hope you can hear me.
I can hear you very well, thank you. I trust you are well and safe in this pandemic period.
Yes, I'm good, although there seems to be a very delayed transmission in the sound.
Mr. DELE OGUN, did you hear me? Okay, before we get... Yes, okay, I understand. All right, before we get into the debate, please can you tell us, the audience, a little bit about yourself and why you are passionate about our fatherland?
Well, I'm a historian. I've been studying the Nigerian political situation for on and off the last 30 years, which is what led to the book that I wrote, The History of Nigeria, titled A Fatherless People. On the back of the learning from that book, I became the convener of the Fatherland group, which is a network of Nigerians, professionals and all trades, all ethnic groups, really a think tank for the way forward for the country.
Okay, fantastic. So I want to apologize to our audience for the late starting. The gremlins have been at work in the studio, and as I said, this is our premiere show, and I can assure you by next week all these gremlins will be resolved. So let's first dissect this construct, our country and fatherland, Nigeria. Mr. Ogun, you have said the country built on shaky foundations like a building cannot stand. This is not exactly correct, as structural engineers are able to provide solutions such as underpinning and reinforcement to ensure and maintain stability. Some countries such as America and India are striving despite having faulty foundations. So is it true to say, therefore, that the Constitution of 1960 or the 1914 origins of the nation are the reason why Nigeria has not progressed now, in 60 years after independence?
Well, the simple answer to that is that anybody who has any knowledge of the construction of buildings understands that a faulty foundation, there are degrees of fault. And some foundations are so faulty that the house has to be completely knocked down. Yes, some foundations, it's sufficient to underpin them. But in Nigeria's case, the foundations are so bad, manifested in the daily reports of murders, killings, right, left, and center. So at what point does the educated African own up to the fact that this thing is not working? Either the house must be knocked down, or it must be so completely reconfigured that you might as well knock it down and rebuild. To draw comparisons with America is comical. What is the faulty foundation of America? Tell me that. What is the faulty foundation of America?
Yes. Well, we already know that America is based on a false premise in the first place. We the people, which excluded the black Americans, so already, and it excluded the Native Americans, so there was never we the people from the onset. So in any case, we can see in America that we've had recent insurrection, open calls for civil war. So America is hardly a perfect union. And when we look at it in reality, there is no perfect union in any country, and no country, very few countries actually have a good solid foundation, as you say. But nevertheless, let's move the conversation on. Nigeria is a country where the most mundane of things continue to elude us after 6 years of trying. Are we a cursed nation?
Let's go back to the topic which we didn't exhaust, about this no union is perfect. You know, the quality of a union is determined by the fruits of that union. It's like a marriage. It's the quality of the offspring that determines how good that marriage is, how compatible the partners are. You look at the production of America. Who on earth will seriously say that America's foundations are faulty? When America, the richest country, the most powerful country on the planet, are we seriously comparing Nigeria's situation? What do we produce? We can't even turn the lights on with any confidence. And we're comparing our foundations with America? Let's be serious.
Yes. No, it's not about comparison. What we're saying is that no nation really has, very few, let's say the point, very few nations were built on solid foundation. Even the UK was built on a premise with the invasion of Scotland, the Queen, and all that kind of stuff. But as I said, let's move it on. We know that Nigeria is the most basic of things are not being achieved. Are we a cursed nation?
No nation is cursed. The simple answer is that we are a badly designed construct. We're an artificial construct. We were designed not to work. So we are performing exactly as it was designed to be. A country that consumes, that cannot produce. it cannot produce because it is internally incoherent. And until the so-called educated Nigerians switch their brains on and have the courage to admit that this thing is incoherent, it is nonsensical, where else do you have this fusion of Islamists and Christians and animists? Countries run on shared values. Where are the shared values between your Fulani AK-47 carriers and your academics and scholars in the schools? It's a mixed up structure, and it is the educated. The problem is not actually the uneducated Nigerians. The problem is the so-called educated ones who are so thick that they really can't engage brain on these issues.
We'll get on. Yeah, on that point, some will say that it's a situation where we've had unprepared, inadequate and inept leadership that lacks vision or gravitas or empathy or the capacity. And that has been identified as some of the main reasons why Nigeria continues to fail to strive in all socio-economic indices. And it also it stops it from becoming a great beacon of light for Africa, the black race and the world at large. Is this a fair statement? The poor level of our leadership?
No, it's nonsense. It's a cop-out. When there are capable people, intelligent people who can do the job, and you end up with a president who can't find his school certificate, that's the highest that he can lay claim to, whose real qualification is carrying guns in uniform. When a country produces leaders like that, when capable people are available, then the problem is not the ones who emerge at the top. The problem, an educated mind would look for the reason why those ones are emerging rather than anybody else. I say again, it is the failure of the so-called educated Nigerians to really engage brain, to understand why is it that the system always produces the least capable and the least competent.
And that is a good... Okay, good. That's a good point, Mr. Ogun. I've always said, and I always say that, and my analogy is that whenever we have elections, the electorate are faced with two bad options. They're faced with two bad eggs. And really, it's which egg smells the worst is the one that you reject. So that's not good enough for a nation of 200+ million. We can't solve regular or adequate electricity. We've got poverty and hunger ravaging the land, overtaking India as the poverty capital of the world. Protein is an essential element in our diets, currently sourced mainly by beef and chicken, yet we still insist on nomadic animal husbandry that the ancient Egyptians dispensed with centuries ago. Why are modern animal husbandry and basic ranching so impossible to achieve in Nigeria?
The answer is simple, because the educated Nigerians are persistent with a nonsense structure. If you have Biafrans running Biafra, if you have Yoruba running the Odua Republic, if you have Ijaw people running their own affairs, all that nonsense will stop.
Is that what you so is there a conflict between politics of identity, for example? Can you not be Omodua and a Nigerian? Can you not be a Biafran and a Nigerian, or an Arawan and a Nigerian? Why is that not a possibility?
No, I've never suggested it's not a possibility. Actually, it's a sensible structure. It's the denial, it's the system, the structure that prevents the Biafrans within Nigeria saying that they are Biafrans and Nigerians. That prevents our Yoruba people saying that they are citizens of Odua and Nigerians. It is the way sensible countries run their affairs. After all, in Britain, you are English and British, you are Welsh and British, you are Scottish and British. It is we, so-called educated Africans, who are denying reality, that we are what we are first and what our fathers were first before Nigeria. We've been told that we are Nigerians and nothing else, and we must disown our nationalities, our true identities, until we change our ways and become comfortable with who we really are, such that an Ijaw man can proudly say he's Ijaw before he's Nigerian, and his loyalty is to Ijaw land before Nigeria. Then we will continue to go around in circles.
Okay, yeah, I understand what you're saying, but this thing is a bit complex, because even say, I mean, there's all this agitation now for Oduduwa Republic, and I always ask myself that where does Oduduwa Republic actually start? Is Oduduwa Republic going to be encompassing Republic of Benin, where Yorubas are, and Republic of Togo, where Yorubas are, going all the way to Kwara? You know, where is the capital going to be? All these things, and even within the construct of this imagined Oduduwa Republic, there are separate, almost entities within it, where there's going to still be conflict. So it's not as if to say, if we suddenly tomorrow become Oduduwa Republic, 60 years along the line, we won't be the same place we are, especially if the educated ones, as you say, continue to be intransigent and be stinkingly corrupt as they are.
There's a simple explanation and an answer to that. Even within a family, siblings have differences and misunderstandings. Mankind was not produced as a clone. The reason why you have social organizations is for ease of governance and administration. And some arrangements are more logical and easier to manage than others. So you start with a family, you move up to the next level, the neighborhood, you move up to the village, you move up to the clan, and from the clan you move up to the tribe, from the tribe you move up to the nation. So the argument that even if you had Oduduwa Republic tomorrow, there will be differences and rivalries within that. So what? In England, even in London, you have the football teams. Arsenal and Tottenham will never beat themselves to death. But when they're playing and the teams come together for England, they are like best mates. So these lower identity issues are simply natural. And it's a fig leaf for people to try and hide behind that, to say, oh, within Yoruba there's division. Of course there's division. Within England there is. Between people of Newcastle and people of London. So what? What's the difference?
The point I'm trying to make, Dele, is that whether you are a smaller unit or you're the same unit as we are now with Nigeria, just like in India, they've got several different tribes and nations actually, and they've managed to coalesce and become a single entity. Even in China, there's a multitude of different ethnicities. Many countries have different ethnicities, and it isn't that we must divide as just the solution. That can be one of the solutions, but that doesn't have to be the be-all and end-all. There is success in diversity, and it can work. It may be, as we say, the politicians that we have ruling things in Nigeria have failed miserably to take the bull by the horns and drive the nation forward.
The analogy is not correct. India, as you know, is not India as it was under British colonial rule. Under British colonial rule, India incorporated Pakistan, Islamic Pakistan, Islamic Bangladesh, and I forgot the other country that was also part of it. Just imagine how India would be if Pakistan and Bangladesh were still part of India. It was simply because the fit did not work. And
India
that's
is one of the countries with the largest number of Muslims in the world right now.
That doesn't take away the point that if Pakistan was still part of India, India would not be as coherent. India right now is 90% Hindu. Even if the Muslim population of India is still significant, the point remains. Just imagine if India still had Pakistan and Bangladesh as part of India. It would not be as coherent. It's logical. I don't see how anybody could argue against that. China is, again, similarly, substantially homogeneous. Not exclusively. We do hear the issues going on at the moment. But the reality is that
I have a question from someone online. They say that how do we prevent bad leadership from getting power?
The simple answer is this: you allow the nations as they were to come back, to revive, because when people know themselves, it is easier to eliminate the ones that clearly would not be good leaders. In a Yoruba nation, Obasanjo would never be president. He's able to be president multi-times of Nigeria because he's not dependent upon those who know him. He's dependent upon those who have an interest in having him in power. It's as simple as that. Democracy works best on the basis of knowledge, and you know who you're voting for.
Yeah, but we have a very our democracy is not one that has covered itself in glory anyway. That's for sure. How are we going to move from the state where we are to restructuring? Because people are talking about restructuring, but restructuring means different things to different people. And in any case, if you want to have a kind of restructuring or reconfiguration of Nigeria, it has to be done constitutionally. We talking about harping to going back. Where are we going back to? Are we going back to the independence constitution, where we had the regions? Where are we going back to?
Can I say that restructuring doesn't mean different things? It shouldn't mean different things to different people. It only means different things to different people to those who don't understand what restructuring actually means. Restructuring means a new constitutional settlement between the interested parties. And who are the interested parties? It is the nations, the ethnic groups that make up that geographical space before the British colonial intrusion. They had a relationship before the Brits came. Restructuring means you cast away the Lugard construct and you replace it with a consensual arrangement between the ethnic groups. That's what restructuring means. It's not complicated. It's those who want to obscure.
I beg to differ. So I beg to differ with you. There was no Biafran nation before. There was no Biafran nation before the colonialists came into being. there wasn't really even Oduduwa nation. We had disparate nations. Egba was a nation on its own, and it even had a semi-independence before the amalgamation. So it's a false premise to say that there were nations before.
That's not correct.
And that we should return to that. What I'm suggesting is that the 1960 constitution was one imposed on us by the colonialists. However, the 1963 constitution, that was made by Nigerians themselves. They elected those that were elected.
I wanted to correct you. Egba was not a nation before British colonial intrusion. Let's get that clear. Egba was part of the Oyo Empire before the British colonial intrusion. It was not a separate nation. The Igbos were a nation before the British colonial intrusion. Let's not sort of obscure the issues by saying Biafra wasn't a nation. The Igbos were a nation. Those ethnic groups and nations were all there before the British colonial intrusion. That is a fact. Restructuring means a new settlement between all the ethnic groups that were there before the British intrusion. It's no more complicated than an agreement.
Ethnic groups being there is not the same as being a... So what are the components of a nation? Is it just a common language makes you... If you have common language, does that make you a nation? If you don't have common laws, you don't have systems of government, how does that make you a nation?
Tell me which of the 371 ethnic groups in Nigeria were not self-governing before the British colonial intrusion, using your criteria. They had their laws, they had their language, they had their belief systems. They were intact, they were coherent. They were disrupted by the colonial intrusion. And when people ask the question, how far back do you go back to before the British stepped in there, simple.
There were so many different ones that so there wasn't a single system. So and time has moved on, and to go back to that time, I mean that 1914 or even beyond that, I think that is quite negative when we're now today in 2020. How do we move the system forward? There's some people in Nigeria don't even speak in their mother tongue anymore.
Those are the city people. Scotland, you say, that's too far to go back. That's little more than 100 years. Scotland became part of Great Britain or the United Kingdom in 1707. And Scotland is asking to go back. So why is it that what is good for educated people in other parts of the world is so wrong when it comes to Africans? Do we lack so much self-confidence, belief in ourselves? Why is 100 years going back to the times of my grandfather? Why is it too far back?
No, not at all. Scotland had their own monarchy, they had their own rules and their own laws. I put it to you.
So did the Igbos.
The nature of Africa at that time, where there was intertribal wars, continuous conflicts all over the place, we can't return back to that. Surely you're not suggesting that.
You are so wrong. All the intertribal wars must get away from the conventional narrative and do the research. All those wars that they refer to were sponsored in the process of the slave trade and following that colonization. These were proxy wars to break up peaceful kingdoms. That's the truth. That's the reality. Do the research. Same way they broke up the Native American Indians in what is now America. We were given the impression that they were always fighting.
We could have another we can have another program about that, and we can digest that very deeply. But that's not the topic for today. What I really wanted to focus on now is that is the problem right now that's happening in Nigeria of insecurity and the cry for Oduduwa Republic. So Nigeria is bedeviled by insecurity in all over the land, from Boko Haram insurgency in the northeast, militancy in south-south, herder and communal clashes in the north-central, banditry and kidnapping elsewhere, all manner of criminality. Has Nigeria ever been safer?
Well, look, the simple explanation is this. If the nations are allowed to close their front doors, then you contain this problem. It is the nonsense of the one Nigerianists that have insisted that all borders and all doors must be left open for all criminals to wander in and out as they please, with visa on arrival from wherever they may come. That is what is behind the crisis that we have at the minute. It's just plain common sense. If there's a fire raging next door, you close your own door to keep the fire out. But so long as you insist on leaving your front door open and your back door open, why should you complain when the fire comes in? It is the one Nigeria nonsense that has produced this situation. And the sooner that we switch our brains on and recognize that this quest for this obsession with being the biggest markets, they want to be a superpower. I called it the other day, you're a supermarket, not a superpower. And you're just proud of that because you're buying goods and services from all over the world, but we're producing nothing. If you want to be productive human beings, you've got to reduce your ambitions, humble ourselves, go smaller, reduce ourselves to a scale that is manageable within our management capabilities. If something is too large, make it smaller. It's common sense. But educated Nigerians insist on staying big because they want to be saying, we're the giants of Africa. I'd rather be the midgets of Africa and be well run.
Okay. So okay. The perceptions of insecurity and the reality of insecurity are often poles apart. What is your opinion on that, Mr. Ogun?
The reality and the perception, they're very much, I don't think they're poles apart under Buhari. Who would say that they're poles apart, reality and perception? They can't be serious if they're coming to say that. What we perceive is what people are experiencing. That's a reality. And that's with limited press coverage, because most of the newspapers will not run the stories anyway.
So with the vagrancies of social media and how that clouds things, and also manipulation, and also the political hands at play, where you can see political actors moving and third columnists around to foment discord for political gain. Is that also not a factor that could be responsible for some of these increase in insecurity and criminality? Even many of these bandits and criminals are even sponsored by the very same politicians.
Look, our people have got to stop making excuses and playing ostrich. This house is broken. These are cosmetic arguments, almost petty. We are supposed to be the most educated group of Africans on the planet. Please let us start showing that in our thinking. Those kind of petty arguments, I wouldn't even entertain them with a response.
but we can't even provide electricity for ourselves. We
Well,
can't
that's
provide
because
electricity for ourselves.
that's because we're badly structured. Simple. Let's get with it. Get real.
What is the
We're
point of
badly structured.
education when you can't provide solutions to your problems?
Well, precisely. If we had our Udua nation, we would have electricity. I assure you.
So how do you restructure when it has to be done I would take it that you are of the opinion that the current security problems that we're facing will be cured, as the question is posing, by the creation of Udua Republic.
It will be. It will be.
Okay, I mean, I've already got a question here. People are saying that, well, we've had the 1 million boys during the time of the NSARS creating havoc in Lagos. There's the Bado cultists all over the place. That insecurity is inherent in Nigeria, and it's not going to be solved overnight by having a new nation. What do you say to that?
Oh, it's. Are these really educated people who are running these kind of commentary? Are they really serious? Is it not just plain elementary that if you are running, let's say, Yoruba land with no borders, no border controls?
I think we should give respect to people asking questions. We
Not
must
if
respect
they-
the guests.
not
our
if they are-
audience. We must respect our audience.
Not if they are not engaging brain in their comments. I'm sorry. I have limited time and I want proper questions. I'm happy to deal with proper questions, but not questions for the sake of questions. It's common sense. That if all those ones who are asking these questions, do they leave their front doors open every day when they go out to work?
We must
Do they leave their back
respect the
door?
audience. They've taken their time to engage in the show, and we
Please,
must give them at least
I'll
some
deal with the proper
respect.
question. I'll deal with the proper question.
This question is actually coming from Nigeria. Well, let's move on again. So, as a lawyer, I'm not sure of your specific area of specialization, but it's obvious that there are a number of reasons for and factors causing increasing criminality and serious crimes in a country. And in Nigeria in particular, I will be grateful if you can shed some light on this general terms. The causes of criminality and serious crimes in any country. What are the factors that induce such? Apart from the fact that you keep repeating that if we are separated, then we'll have peace and tranquility. But in reality, countries which have, in fact, monocultural nations have increased criminality and serious crimes. What are the factors, apart from political stability, that causes that?
Well, look, crime is an incidence of opportunity. In every human society, people do what they can get away with. If you don't have proper policing, then you have a high level of criminality. It's a simple calculation. So in circumstances where you have a police force that is controlled from Abuja, where strangers are deployed to go and police communities, such a defective policing arrangement is bound to enhance criminality. And then the impunity of central government to these, in circumstances where citizens are not supposed to be carrying weapons, and Fulani people are carrying AK-47 and the government turns a blind eye. Why is anybody asking what is the causes of criminality? It's obvious. It's government's impunity. It is opportunity that is extended to the criminals. It is a policing system that is fraudulent, that is not sincere, that is designed to just oppress the citizens rather than to protect them. Need I say more?
Yeah, okay. Another question here. There's, as you rightly said, there's widespread clamour for state and community policing. Obviously, with the policing being controlled from the federal government and the supposed governors who are supposed to be the chief security officers who are naked. So, in much of this clamour for this state and community police is happening in the south and in north central. What is your view? Is Amotekun a prelude to state police or a toothless leopard with no bite?
Well, it can only be as effective as it's allowed to be. If they are deprived of the use of weaponry, which you would associate with any police force, especially in a violent environment, such as being allowed to take hold. If all you give them is uniforms and patrol cars, then of course they can only be as effective as the uniform and the patrol cars allows them to be. You give them proper training, give them proper weaponry, make them the official police force, and you'll see the difference. So it's easy to sit back and say, oh, they're toothless. Well, they're only as good as they're allowed to be, is the simple answer.
Okay. We agree that the situation is bad, but Nigerians collectively cannot agree on the solution to curb insecurity. What are your suggestions? Apart from we must separate.
Well, we must. I've never been pushing this separation argument. I've always pushed the restructuring argument, which is, as I've explained, a proper consensual agreement as to the basis on which the ethnic groups will coexist. We're in a neighborhood. We have external threats and we have mutual concerns. If we want peace and progress, you sit down and you come up with an agreement as to how we're going to conduct ourselves within our neighborhood, allowing people to take responsibility for their security, the security of their own homes and their own houses, and then sharing the external security. It is not.
Good point. Now, since our faulty military-induced constitution doesn't allow for referendum and is unlikely to have support of 2/3 of the National Assembly and State Houses of Assembly, along with the President as sent, this call and dream for restructuring, it's almost like a pipe dream. How do you envisage that this pipe dream can become reality? Because we all agree that the structure is faulty, but if we don't follow the constitution, how on earth are we going to make this change?
Well, first of all, you don't have a constitution. That's just a reality. You may have a document that calls itself a constitution, but every lawyer knows that when you draft a document, you can give it whatever name you like. It doesn't make it what you call it. So the fact that you have a document that some unknown people drew up in 1999 and they wrote the name Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria on it doesn't make it a constitution.
Why do you say it's not a constitution?
Precisely as I explained it again. I just said it. A constitution, properly so called, is an agreement made by the parties to it, made by the parties to that agreement as to how they're going to conduct their relationship between themselves. The relevant parties, as far as Nigeria is concerned, are the ethnic groups, the 371 ethnic groups. If anybody can show me a document that is signed by the representatives of 371, and I'm looking for 371 signatures, then I might agree with you
and
that you have.
They have. Okay, so Okay.
What you have is an instrument of government.
So let's look at that very point. Obviously, the size of different. Imagine now you've got the Yoruba race. The Yoruba nation. Hold on. The Yoruba nation of X millions of people will have only one representative in this fora that you're saying. I would put it to you that the 1960 Constitution was imposed by the British. The 1999 Constitution was imposed equally by the military. But the 1963 Constitution was developed by the Parliament and by the elected people of the elected population, their representatives of these 371 nations. And that constitution failed miserably, and it led to the coup of 1966. So having your representatives create a constitution for you doesn't necessarily mean uhuru.
The 1963 constitution was not created by the representatives of the 371 ethnic groups. Simple.
Why do you say that?
Well, show me the document and show me where it says in the signature section.
Who were the elected people in the Houses of Parliament in between independence and 1963? Were they not representatives of the people?
You are confusing parliamentarians representing individual citizens with representative of ethnic groups. The two are not the same. I've said it clear that in a construct like Nigeria, where you have 371 ethnic groups that were there before the British colonial.
So what we're saying here now is, what I would say to you is that, yes.
Before the British colonial intrusion, if you want a proper constitution, it will be the representative.
There are different methods in which a constitution can be created. Your preferred approach is one way, but there are other ways as well.
If you're looking for peace, and I'm assuming that this is the object of this discussion, to find a peaceful way forward, you've got to recognize that who are the stakeholders. These ethnic groups had a reality before the British colonial intrusion, before your Lugard construct. If you're looking for the way forward, a peaceful way forward, you want a constitutional settlement. That's what restructuring means. Constitutional settlements in which each of those 371 ethnic groups can see themselves in there and say, yeah, we the Ogoni, we may be small, but we're there. We the Ijaw, we're there. We the Tiv are there. Show me any of the documents that you're referring to that will say we the Tiv are there, we the Ogonis are there.
It's not. Look, when you get down into the actual numbers of actual nations, and you know now actually some nations are losing their ground and they're losing their language, and in fact some nations are actually disappearing. So because of the emergence of English as the national language and modernization and whatnot. I put it to you that it's all well and good having these lofty proposals or ideas, but you have to deal with the reality on the ground. We have selfish, stinkingly corrupt politicians at the helm of affairs in Nigeria. They are unlikely to allow or to give any credence to all what we're suggesting here today. So how do we make this a reality? We know that Nigeria as a nation is a unitary state masquerading on a faulty federal system. It's not a true federalism. But the people who are in charge, who are the politicians, especially in the legislature, which I call them the legislators, because they're just looting our funds, they are there for self-interest. And so long as they are carrying sway, we're unlikely to change this endeavor. Is it not the case that we need a new generation of leaders to take Nigeria to a different place, to a better Nigeria? The ones, if we leave things to the ones who are there now, we will never find a solution to our country. Whether it's dividing because they won't agree to divide and they won't agree to even stay as one. How do we move forward with the current crop of despicable politicians?
But it's those out there who want to give them legitimacy. Their legitimacy depends upon this fraudulent instrument, which you're calling a constitution. Once the people understand that it's actually an illegitimacy, and people organize themselves, they can stay in the National Assembly, those ones. Once the people are mobilized to understand the true situation, then that really doesn't matter what those in the National Assembly say. They will be bypassed by the masses of the people. It's simply a matter of organizing the people to understand the true situation of affairs, that they can waive that document and call it a constitution.
We've seen recently in America, we've seen in America organizing of people to try to thwart the will of democracy, as it were, with Donald Trump and the insurrectionists. We saw also our End SARS campaign end in anarchy all over the place. Who are the entities and when are they going to come up to galvanize the people to make these, to see the light, as it were? How is that going to materialize itself?
The simple answer is organization. It's down to the educated, the truly educated, not the ones who carry certificates around and think that because they have PhD, MSc, LLM and all the rest of that, that constitutes education. The real educated people, the thinkers, is for them to enlighten the people, let them understand the true nature of and the workings of this so-called democracy. Once the people understand their power and the possibilities that they have simply from mass action, then the change that everybody wishes for will come.
Look, you know that in the politics of Nigeria, you know they say politics is a dirty game, but in the Nigerian construct, it is the ruling of the area boys. You understand? Whoever's got the biggest mouth and the biggest guns, or you know, those are the ones that are carrying sway, and the people gravitate to them. And we know about the power of money when you have poverty, and they use, you know, edible kelo sebe, as it were. Go vote and then we'll give you money to make soup or whatever. You know, people are more concerned about bread and butter, that they need to put money, you know, money in their, food in their stomachs. We've heard about the Eba politics coming all the way from Ekiti State. So, you know, we talk about the educated, but when the educated and the enlightened refuse to engage in politics, so if the good ones don't engage, like you and I, we stay here in the UK and we're enjoying ourselves, whilst the ones in Nigeria who are educated and enlightened prefer to just play on the stock exchange and make their money and then fly to Dubai and whatnot. Where is this saviour going to come from? Should it not be for the people themselves on the ground in Nigeria to be galvanizing now? We've got elections that are 2 years away, Mr. Ogun, 2 years away, and I don't see any light at the end of the tunnel.
But there won't be light at the end of the tunnel if all we're doing is encouraging people to play the fool's game. The so-called elections, which are in natural fact selections, because the whole system is so monetized, is like a slot machine. You put your money in and you get your chocolate bar. If you don't open your people's eyes to the reality of this so-called democracy as compared with how it's supposed to operate, then of course you're going to get all those symptoms with area boys controlling the political stage. Change the game. It's simple. Change the game. If you keep playing the same game, the fool's game, which is what they want you to be playing, you're going to get the same results every single time. The focus of the Fatherland group is not to encourage people to continue to play their fool's game. It is to change the understanding, expose the reality.
Yeah, so what's also concerning me right now is how can I put it, tribal politics and tribal sentiment that is bedeviling the nation at this particular juncture. And it is something that I think we must be wary of, because the outcome could be very devastating if indeed it goes the wrong way, as we've seen in Rwanda and elsewhere. So you've got people that want to take the laws in their own hands. Is it right in a country of laws for individuals, no matter the validity of their cause, to take the law into their own hands without proper investigation, to criminalize and serve justice on a nation of people, namely the Fulanis? Or should we insist that the law takes its course and mete out justice to criminals, no matter their tribe, state, or religion or profession?
Oh dear! Look, I get frustrated, irritated, I should say, by these ones who portray victims as the offenders. Those who these Fulanis are attacking and raping, are they the ones in the wrong? When they now seek to defend themselves, when the states they're supposed to be protecting them, that told them that leave your borders open because we're one Nigeria. Allow everybody to go wherever they want to, and they played along in good faith, such that the Fulani migrated into their lands with their cattle. Is it really they that are at fault now, that should be criticized for taking the law into their own hands? Is that really what the question is asking?
So, no, the point we're making is that in every the question that we're asking is that in every one of our communities, in all the nations, in all the tribes, if you like, whatever you want to call them, there are criminal elements. You cannot. I think it's it's unreasonable, if you like, to blanket wash a whole tribe of people, millions of people, and say they are all criminals. You know, I could mention a certain tribe that I know a lot of them engage in 419. Will I say that every one of that tribe is a 419? No, I won't. I know some people accuse a certain number of tribes as being armed robbers. Do we call all of them armed robbers? I think that's wrong. So I think the problems with the herdsmen is an issue which I think we should actually look at critically. And of course we've got open borders because we're part of ECOWAS, and that's an international treaty. We can obviously come out of that if that is the wish of the people. But migration of cattle from the Sahel all the way down to the Atlantic Ocean, if you like, has been going on for centuries. And we are now in the 21st century. Is it not a situation that we ought to be able to engage in ranching and modern animal husbandry so that we don't have the... In fact, the way I see it is that our Nigerian cows are some of the most unhealthy animals that I've ever met that I've seen. They're trekking miles and miles every day, and they're also bony and scrawny. What is stopping us as a nation from changing the way that we manage our resources, manage our animals, manage all these things, apart from it just being about structure? Isn't this a psychological problem within the leaders themselves. Those who lead the people in, say, the north, they're Fulani brothers and sisters who are educated. Can they not show them the light and say, you will actually benefit more if you do ranching than what you're doing now?
Can I take you back to the beginning of your comments? Look, please, let's give the victims of these Fulani madness a break. Yeah, let's cut them some slack. They're there in their own homes, in their own land, their fatherlands, as it was. People are migrating, Fulani people are migrating into their lands. And they're killing, maiming, raping, kidnapping. And people are, political correctness is coming out and saying it is wrong to protest, that the Fulanis are doing this.
Mr. Ogun, are you suggesting that it's not possible for, it's not about political correctness. Are you suggesting for one moment that there are other people that are not masquerading as Fulani herdsmen committing these atrocities? That is definitely happening. I've seen videos of that already. I really don't care.
I really don't care. The fact is, there's a Fulani guy.
The atrocities, but at least some of them.
Yeah, I really don't care about the detail. The Fulani guy who's in power is a president. This stuff was not happening. All this crap that we're getting now started after he got his second term. He has the opportunity, he has the power, he has the standing to call them to rights. And if he doesn't do so, how dare anybody else say that it's the victims that are wrong to be complaining and saying it's Fulani doing it? Let them speak up and speak to their people. Call them back home. Put them to rights. Please don't go around blaming the victims. I won't have that.
So, I will put it to you that this whole situation of now labeling the Fulanis as, the speck in the eye of Nigeria, the main problem, could it not be because the actual president is a Hausa Fulani, that why some people are using this Fulani herdsman crisis for political means? Is that not a possibility for you?
No, it's not. On the contrary, it is the fact that Buhari is a Fulani man that has encouraged the impunity of the Fulani people to a level that we've never seen before. It's as simple as that. It is the indulgence that he has granted them. It is his encouragement that is producing all this crisis. So please don't go blaming the victims. Place the responsibility where it belongs.
What is the indulgence? What is the indulgence that you're referring to? What is the indulgence? I'm not blaming any victims there. We're just asking. No, how is he indulging those who you're referring to?
What has he done to arrest and lock up all these ones carrying the AK-47s? Who has been prosecuted?
So this is the question. We know already that Nigeria, state of the security apparatus, the police infrastructure, the army, everything is completely woeful. You understand? So the chances of anyone really getting prosecuted in Nigeria, even for the most minimal of crimes, is almost minimal. You can almost commit crime at will in Nigeria. So, and with the vastness of the country and the lack of how can I put it? Lack of equipment, manpower, technology, and all the rest of it. Do you actually think that the security services, as they are constituted now, have the capacity to address this onslaught from whether they're Fulani herdsmen or whoever? Isn't there a critical problem with our security infrastructure?
No, it's not. It's a signal
from the commander-in-chief giving the right instruction.
No, it's not. It's the signal from on top. Let's be honest. Let's talk. Let's not beat around the bush. It's the signal from on top. It's impunity that's been encouraged right from Asurok there.
So
When
what
has
is
he
this,
spoken about?
so let's do that. What is the signal from on top? What is the signal? What is the signal coming from?
Let's put this very simply. I mean, I'm puzzled by some of these questions. If you're president and you see that kind of impunity going on, will you not go out and speak and address the situation? Will you not address the country? Would you not address? Is he not the life president of Mieti Allah, the cattle herders organization? When have you heard him speak about it? Let's get real.
Okay. Yeah. So earlier on, I did say to you, I mentioned about the problem of Nigeria being partly the leadership, and you brushed that aside. And I'm explaining to you that the quality of leadership that we have is part of the reason for what we're saying. I agree with you that we shouldn't be having a president in 21st century that cannot speak to the people, that doesn't have press conferences on a regular basis, telling Nigerians what is going on and how he's going to solve the problem. I must put my hand on my heart and I must show my cards. I'm actually a supporter of the APC government, and I still call President Buhari Baba Goslow. And with the youthful nation that we have now, looking forward to 2023, I think it's unconscionable that we should have a similar kind of president coming forward again. So I put it to you that it's not just a problem of one particular man, but it's the whole structure of leadership and how it emerges in Nigeria. That needs addressing.
You're quoting my own words back at me. I was the one who's told you and said at the beginning that when a country that has capable leaders, people who are capable of leading effectively, keeps producing the wrong fruits, like Buhari, then the problem is structural. This is why the campaign for restructuring has taken hold. And let me correct you. It's not that Buhari cannot address the nation. It is that, in fact, I don't like using the word nation, addressing the state and the country, because Nigeria is not a nation. It's not that it cannot address the people. It is that it does not want to. And it is that fraudulent electoral stroke pseudo-democratic arrangement that got him there.
So that's a good point that you're making there. And I will say to you that the problem we have, again, it goes back to the kind of leaders that we emerge that don't know how to communicate or refuse to communicate. As you're rightly saying, they may well know how to communicate, but refuse to communicate. And that is, you cannot allow things to fester, because the end result will be a catastrophe. So I want to say something to you. There's a general perception being peddled that the jihadist Hausa Fulani, at the behest of a Hausa Fulani president in Buhari, seeks to dominate and take over southern Nigeria and complete the unfinished work of Usman Dan Fodio of dipping the Quran into the Atlantic Ocean. What is your view? Is that a realistic suggestion, notion?
I think the evidence is obvious. I mean, this president has given them open season. I've said it all through this evening. It is open season for these Fulani people. Is it Yoruba and Igbos causing trouble in the north? Is it Ijaws raping people in Kaduna or in Borno? Let's understand where the threat is coming from. Is north-south, not south-north. And so, yes, the short answer is yes, that is the agenda that he is pushing.
Okay. So I'll put it to yeah. So, anyway, on this point alone, anyway, this is hardly a serious notion, as we know full well that about 50% of Yoruba already embraced Islam wholeheartedly. Ijebus and many coastal communities in Southwest have chosen Islam ahead of Christianity, the religion of the slavers and the occupier colonists. So why did this perception of Northern Muslim and how also Fulani domination takes sway just because the president is from a Fulani origin. This, I say to you, it has the smackings, the smitherings of political doctrine, and there is the possibility, and I'm surprised that you cannot see that there's a possibility of political hanky-panky going on behind the scenes.
Sorry, I thought I heard you say
Ahead of 2023 elections.
I thought I heard you say at the beginning of that Christianity was the religion of the slavers. Is that correct?
Well, there were Arab slavers as well. There were Arab slavers as well, but I'm specifically referring to in the southern lands at that time, the slavers were the Christians.
I'm glad you corrected yourself, because who was carrying out the slave raids? Was it not the House of the Fulani?
There were multiple people. Yorubas, I know many. We can go into history. There were Yorubas as well doing slave. There were slave masters. I've even been down in Badagry and I saw the house of the head of the slave master. I can't remember his name. But let's not dwell on that. What I'm suggesting to you is that if you look at the history, and you're a historian, and you look at things in a holistic manner, and you can clearly understand that Nigeria as an entity is very complex. And the political shenanigans that are happening in a nation like Nigeria, because of our selfish, stinkingly corrupt politicians, they can do and undo. Coming towards 2019 election, in fact, coming towards the 2019 elections, you notice that hell was breaking loose in North Central. Why was that? Because there was the notion that if we can take the North Central away, we can get victory away from the party, the ruling party. Now I put it to you that the fury that's happening in the Southwest is against 2023 elections, and the possibility that a presidential candidate is likely to come from the Southwest in the ruling party. And therefore, if we have all this unrest, the likelihood of them being victorious will be minimized. Is that not a possibility in your eyes?
Well, that's not news to me. If you look at, but I must warn you, I've got to leave in 10 minutes. But let me deal with that question. Those of us who've studied the history know the cycle of Northern rule. They've never made it to the end of a second term before scattering the table. They did it with Balewa, first term. Before the end of the second term, crisis created military coup. Shagari, first term. Before the end of the second term, crisis created military coup. We're here again. Buhari, first term. Before the end of the second term, crisis, and possibly leading to a military coup. So I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah, but I mean, we could go into town another time about the origins of all those coups and whether those the crisis that led to the coups, whether it was northern imposed or whether it was the crisis in the western region and all sorts of reasons. That's another matter. Anyway, look, we know that Akeredolu had made a statement the other day, and I want to just address that because it's in focus with what we're talking about. What is your opinion on President Muhammad Buhari's spokesperson and Senior Special Assistant Media and Public Publicity, Gabra Show, and the former IGP's comments and actions in response to Governor Akeredolu's request for illegal trespasser herdsmen to vacate the state's forestry reserve?
Well, does that not demonstrate that when anybody takes a sensible position in relation to these Fulani outrages, suddenly Abuja finds its voice. But whilst the acts of impunity and the outrages are going on by the Fulani people, you don't hear from them. Is that not the short answer to that?
Yeah, it's very debilitating, and in fact, just yesterday we had in Rumi in Edo State, hundreds of women protested yesterday with revelations of countless rapes by nomadic herdsmen and bandits. And how can this be addressed urgently? We have serious levels of epidemic of rape, pedophilia, incest, sexual harassment across the whole of Niger, which is not specific to any tribe. How are we going to address these things, especially with the porous borders, as you say, the lack of capacity from the police? We are on a hiding to nowhere, aren't we?
Well, yes, very clearly. We do not have effective policing. The citizens are left to the mercy of whoever has the guns and the weaponry. And the simple solution to that is obvious. People must be allowed to police themselves, either on a nation or ethnic group basis. They police their own areas, or people are allowed to carry their own weaponry and defend themselves. If the state can't do it, the responsibility has then to fall to self-defense. It cannot be a situation where...
I couldn't agree with you more. I couldn't agree. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. But now, in the light of that, with the bloody videos spreading across social media alleging Fulani atrocities in the southwest of Nigeria, who is the current generalissimo of Udua land that is going to save our bacon? Obviously, Muslims won't want to have bacon. Is it the reigning Ariana Kakafo, Ganiyu Adams, or the new Oyo upstart, Sonny Igboho?
Well, it's the responsibility of, in this current situation, there's no Superman who can save the situation. It is, each has to take measures to defend themselves, starting at the household level and the neighborhood level. They've got to form their self-defense units as best they can. You can't leave it to any Superman from Yoruba land. What Sunday has done is great. It is courageous. It is what political leaders should be doing. You see, there's a world of difference between professional politicians, the ones who collect a salary each month, and the genuine politicians who do what needs to be done in the interest of their people without pay and without reward. Sunday Igboho is an example of the latter. All the professional politicians are in hiding. They've lost their voice. They cannot speak out. They cannot speak up. And so, but as I say, ultimately, it's going to be down to individuals to protect themselves to the best of their ability.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. Why? Well, we're obviously wrapping up slowly soon. You said you got about another 5 minutes to go. Well, I wondered, why is it whenever we have a northern head of state that cries of domination and nepotism always ring loudest? Some people within the Yoruba nation, yeah, they describe in themselves the Yoruba as Fulani slaves. Is there any truth in the reality, in this reality? It is absurd. It's an absurd claim, is it? As I, for one, I'm not a slave, and none of my ancestors were ever enslaved.
Sometimes people don't realize that they are actually in slavery. They think they confuse freedom for slavery. If you're in a society where how well you do depends on who you know, that is a state of slavery, because you're dependent upon grace from above rather than your own inherent abilities to move yourself forward, to earn your daily living, to achieve your ambitions and your aspirations. If you're always having to look up to somebody in office, somebody in Abuja, somebody in power, then you're a slave to somebody, to that person you're looking up to in office, in Abuja, or in power.
To who?
Not that you're expecting anything from me. If you're looking up with an expectation of something.
So when that president was OBJ or Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, were we slaves to them?
Yeah, they were slaves. They always are slaves. They always are. It doesn't really depend that much upon the temporary occupant of the office. But there are those who were acting as slaves.
All right, the Yoruba and our northern neighbors have lived harmoniously for centuries, intermarrying and trading since the end of the distant conflicts. Is the current backlash against Fulanis going to lead to a permanent schism? Is it time for Odua Republic?
My position is this, even independent of the current crisis, but is confirmed by the current crisis, the Fulani impunity. My position is the Yoruba nation, in or out of Nigeria, if it's possible for a Nigeria that accommodates a Yoruba nation, if that is feasible and can be done, that's my preference. If it cannot be done, then a freestanding Yoruba nation becomes a logical and sensible alternative.
Barrister DELE OGUN, I'm really appreciative of you coming on this show today, and I actually applaud your last stance, which I think is a form of compromise. In that, in the absence of complete separation, we could have a form of regional government, which would be like a Odua Republic, and we know about the Dawn Initiative, which has been pushing forward, although I think it's not pushing forward at great pace. And I keep saying it is the selfish, stinking politicians that are not allowing the current structure to have more cohesion between the region, even though we are in this lopsided federation. In conclusion, I would like to, as I say, thank you once again. And maybe you can tell us a bit about your book, A Fatherless People, and how our viewers can get that book, and also if they want to join your organization, the Fatherland Group, how can they contact you?
Thank you very much. Fatherland Group, the web address is fatherlandgroup.org, O-R-G. As far as the Fatherless People is concerned, you'll get it on Amazon, and you'll get it in the bookshops in Nigeria as well. And any of those online bookshops. It is the comprehensive history of Nigeria. It is not for the politically correct. As you see from my style of interview, I don't pull punches. I will say things as they are. And those who want to read the book, they should be prepared to be told things as they are, without compromise. But based on
Yes. Us having further discourse in the future. Hopefully would the studio will be sorted out, and we'll have a better discourse. We've got a call coming in, so I'd like to say goodbye to you now and wish you well.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
What you say your name is? Okay, sir. Hi, nice to meet you, sir. Happy New Year to you, sir. Yes, good. So, what is your question, sir?
Well, my thing is this. The barrister, okay, I'm sorry, barrister Ogun need to understand that the way things are in Nigeria, the majority of our people are so illiterate, they are so poorly raised, so they don't even know what their rights are. In the process, the few politicians that we have that are raised and trained from the garage are taking advantage of the poor masses, and they are able to achieve that because they make life so difficult for them. They keep them in perpetual servitude and poverty. So the immediate problem of an average Nigerian now is, is bread and butter. So yes. They don't even have time to analyze, criticize, even ask for their rights. And that's why most of these politicians are getting away with murder. Yeah. Having said that, the bigger question again is almost 100% of leaders so far are from us. They are also a replica of how an average Nigerian behaves, because here you have a neighbor who has not been working the last 10 years, and from nowhere he just park 20 cars in front and nobody say anything. All these are the things, and also an average Nigerian also believes that he's going to get to his turn. So the last part which your guest talked about is slavery. Slavery, it is right to say that slavery comes in different shapes and forms. Yeah, this does not necessarily mean when you are trafficked or taken to Saudi Arabia to work for anybody. You can be in your country thinking that you have freedom of everything, but you are still a slave. Like you rightly said, an average graduate of University of Lagos that has no job, that has nothing to live for, that believes that because he doesn't know FEMI OKE, so that's why he couldn't get a job. That's a form of slavery. You know, you have a wonderful program there.
Thank you very much.
I'm sure as time goes on, the more improvement. Okay. So I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you. Well, whilst you're here, I just want to ask you a question. Maybe you can enlighten us as well. That you've raised this problem of the poverty and destituteness of the people that is sort of blocking the possibility of them getting out of the quagmire that they're in. How do we create economic prosperity to take Nigerians out of poverty? Because this is the problem that is bedeviling our country. Once you have poverty, then people are gonna just, take whatever anybody gives them. They're not gonna, they're not even gonna fight. They're not even gonna bother, and it's just gonna continue to perpetuate and perpetuate. How do we improve the economy of the nation?
Yeah, like you guys said a couple of times, I agree with him. See, it's not like you want to build a house. You cannot build a house without structure. And even if you agree to build a house with a structure, there are some fundamental parts of the building that are pillars. You need to have pillars that even want to change anything, these are the area you cannot touch because they are totally four fundamental pillars that will hold the building. So we need to have a proper structure. But for me, I want to go a little bit further and say, from a long history of Nigeria, let's stay with Nigeria, it has been clearly shown that we have other problems that are not commonly discussed. They are not discussed because we grew up believing that what is good for me, it doesn't bother me what happens to you. You understand me? What people will say, once myself and my child or my children are very full of their food, I don't care what happens to other children. You know, this mentality, this way of life needs to be changed. And you can talk as many times as you like. You can read all the books of this world, and that's why clearly it's a proof that Nigerians, we are a set of retarded people, we are unable to rule ourselves. You tell me, what exactly is our problem that 60 years on, let's forget the last 100 years or whatever, the last 60 years, we are yet to provide basic amenities for our people. So the question is that we have ability to siphon, to steal, to rob, to misuse, to abuse billions of our money for self-use. And as we speak, we are still unable, we don't have the capacity to stare down problem of corruption. Because an average person will tell you that if it had not been corruption, there would have been a good road Lagos Ibadan. There would have been 4 lanes here, 4 lanes there. There would have been telephone, there would have been cities on the road, there would have been hospitals, there would have been everything. There would have been,
You're quite right, Utuma, Mr. Osini. So we'll most probably have to call you in on and have you in on another day where we're going to discuss all these things in another show. But it's been lovely calling in because we're running out of time now. So I thank you for calling and I wish you the best of the day, the rest of the evening, should I say.
Thank you very much. I look forward to that. No problem at all. Thank you very much for having me.
Take care now. All the best.
Okay. Thank you.
Right. I want to thank everybody for joining us in this, our first debate show. Enough is enough. Soro, Soke. It's been a great show. So I want you all to Soro, Soke. Don't be shy. Don't be silent. If you see something, say something. If you can't take it no more, say something. Do something. Better Niger will not come by mouth alone. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact the numbers on your screen. I'm your host, Mr. FEMI OKE, founder of Better Nigeria, signing out. See you same time next week when we will debate another hot topic for a better Nigeria. Thank you. Take care now.
Níbi àríyá tàbí lóde ayẹyẹ fún wọn nílé afẹ́ ò tàbí níbikíbi. Bóyá ò kẹ́gbọ́n mi. Sweet Heart Fruit ń gbẹ́lẹ̀ ìdè o táwọn yọ.
Wow! Here is a good information for everybody. Have the taste of fruit in different form at your parties, event, church program, or social engagement like wedding, birthday, conference in your house, and lots more. Fruit cocktails, fruit arrangement, fruit palm tree, smoothie, fruit basket decoration, fruit kebab, and lots more at Sweet Heart Fruit Company. Bẹ́ẹ̀ni, ní gbogbo ibi tí a bá ti ń ṣe àríyá, ìgbéyàwó, ọjọ́ ìbí, àjọ̀dún ilé ìjọsìn, níbi afẹ́ tàbí ibi ìgbádùn àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ, ẹ kàn sí Sweet Heart Fruit ní èyíkéyìí ohun tí ẹ bá fẹ́ kí wọ́n fi fruit dálára fún yín bíi fruit cocktail, fruit arrangement, fruit palm tree, smoothie, fruit basket decoration àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Níbikíbi tí ẹ bá wà, ẹ lè kàn sí wa lórí ẹ̀rọ ìbánisọ̀rọ̀ yìí 079 442 080-530 or follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all social media platforms at Sweetheart Fruit. Oluwaseun Akishoun is the CEO of Sweetheart Fruit. Patronize us at Sweetheart Fruit today. You will be glad you business with us.